Alright, I'm going to go over the JavaScript files for the Freehold site template. So if we go into our files, all the JavaScript's located in the JS folder. And we don't have very many, we kind of bundled them up for you nice and easy. So let's go and start in the deepest folder, which is libs. And we have jQuery, and then we have Modernizer. Basically what Modernizer does is it basically brings older browsers like IE 6, 7, 8, and even 9 up to par with some of the current browsers like Firefox and Safari and Chrome, just so things like rounded corners and shadows degrade nicely for those browsers. So the next thing we have is this Go map. Basically what that is what we're using to generate the Google Maps API for you. And what it does is some heavy lifting for you, so that if you've noticed, you just have to enter the address. You don't have to use things like longitude and latitude. You can just type in the address, which is nice. And so basically those scripts you won't edit or change or anything like that, because they're just there as plugins to run your site. So then the next thing we have is this plugins.js file. If we pop that up and look at the top, we have another table of contents, and it basically just shows us these are what are running your site. And these things you probably won't edit unless you really wanted to get every ounce of performance out of your site. What you would have done is just open this up, and if you're not using some of these things, you would pull them out. But they're such small files that you'd really just leave this file alone. I would recommend you'd probably only open this up if you wanted to add a plugin to your site. So things like the mobile menu, our Twitter plugin, our contact form validation, the lightbox, the slider, things like that are all tossed into this file. So it's a much quicker load on your site than loading 8 different scripts. It would have made 8 different calls to the server. It just makes 1 now. Our script.js file is one that you might end up poking around depending on what you're editing. And if we pop it open, it has another table of contents. So the first one's menu activation, and this is our drop-down menus right here. And there's a couple options. You can look into this. You can edit a couple of these if you want. There's kind of comments there. Play around with it if you'd like. Things like the delay, so when you remove from there, there's a slight delay before it hides itself. You can make that longer or shorter. Then we have our light box right here, which is when you click on an image, the light box pops up, and we have a whole load of options right here for you, and you can read about them there, and so on and so forth. You can just see all these options that we have in JavaScript. So you can play around in this file if you want. Just check out the table of contents and it'll explain where it is. And that basically covers all of the JavaScript that we use in our theme. It's all nice, tightly packaged in basically these 2 files, plugins and scripts. So scripts is basically what activates any plugins. And you probably don't want to play around too much with the plugins file, but you can go ahead and mess around with the scripts file. And yeah, all those are pulled in. And you can see our theme documentation at the bottom. If you want to read a little bit more, we have links usually to the scripts, like our slider and our mobile menu, if you want to read more about those.